Building muscle is one of the best ways to lose weight without feeling like you're depriving yourself. So, in this video, we're going to go over why building muscle is the cheat code to easier weight loss and how you can build your first 10 pounds of muscle. If you're new here, welcome and thanks for spending your time here. My name's Noah, and I've been a full time personal trainer for the last 5 years after graduating from my bachelor's of kinesiology. And I'm just trying to cut through all the bullshit that's out there in the fitness industry and simplify things so that you can lose weight in the easiest way possible. And if that sounds good to you, let's just dive right in. So, why is building muscle an easier way to lose weight than doing endless amounts of cardio? Well, I'm going to use this chart right here to prove my point. And I've mentioned this in almost every video I've made up to this point because it's that important to understanding weight loss. It's called your TDEE, and it's a breakdown of where you burn your calories in a day. And I have a video breaking it down in detail, which I'll leave linked in the description below for those of you that are interested. But here's a quick breakdown so you understand where I'm going with this video. Exercise is only that tiny little sliver up at the top. So when it comes to weight loss specifically, doing endless cardio doesn't really get us there. But those two biggest chunks on the chart there are what we can manipulate by focusing on building muscle. So that biggest chunk right there is called BMR, and it's the calories you burn in a day from just existing. And you can actually increase this by building more muscle because muscle mass takes more calories to maintain in a day than fat mass does. And the reason that makes weight loss so much easier is because the more calories you naturally burn in a day without having to do any extra effort means you can just eat more calories to maintain your weight. So when it comes time where you want to lose weight, you can eat more than you normally would and still lose weight. That way you don't feel like you're constantly starving yourself. Then that second biggest chunk on the chart there is called NEAT. And this is the calories you burn in a day from doing basic movements. So doing things like doing the dishes, running your errands, playing with your dog, things like that. And typically when clients start to build more muscle, they naturally start to move more because those basic daily movements become so much easier. They're not in pain going up the stairs. They can bend over to play with their dog so much easier. And that boosts our daily calorie burn right there, which makes losing weight in the long term so much easier. Now, before we go any further, I want to make a couple of things clear. This approach isn't going to get you the fastest weight loss. But here's why I still think it's better than those fast weight loss approaches. Most people have tried doing endless cardio and starving themselves to lose weight. And it gives them this sour taste of fitness because their only focus is that number on the scale. And because they hate it, they end up quitting long before they ever reach their goals. So by focusing on building muscle, we shift our focus from the scale and those past failures to other methods of progress. Like, are you getting stronger in the gym? Are you starting to see some muscle tone or definition? Are your clothes starting to fit better? Or maybe your waist is even slimming down a little bit, because there are so many more ways to progress than just that number on the scale. And there are so many more benefits to building muscle than just losing weight. So we want to make the process as easy as possible. So when it comes to building muscle, we need to start by managing your expectations, because what fitness influencers fail to tell you is building muscle takes time. And their hit workouts are total bullshit. Because if they actually showed you what they did to get their physiques, it would be considered basic and boring content. Because what gets a good physique just isn't flashy for social media. So here's the basic principles that are gonna get you your first 10 pounds of muscle. First, you need to lift close to failure. No, you don't have to lift to failure every set, but you do need to lift with some intensity because just going through the motions isn't going to cut it. A good rule of thumb is to train within 2 to 5 reps of failure, meaning if you did a set of 10 reps, you could have done 15 reps at the most, but ideally closer to 12. And if you're not sure how close to failure you actually are, on your last set of that exercise, I want you to do what's called an AMRAP, which stands for as many reps as possible. And this is just one set to absolute failure. And this lets you know where you're at so you can adjust for your next session. So let's say you're stopping at 10 reps on an exercise. Then you do an AMRAP set and you get all the way to 25 reps. That means it's time to increase your weight on that exercise for your next session. And no, this doesn't mean to lift to failure on every set. This is just a tool to gauge where you're at on a specific exercise. And I know there's gonna be some gym bro in the comments that says every set needs to go to failure, but that just isn't the case. Especially when you're starting out, you're gonna get more sore than normal. And the last thing I want is you to get so sore that you're missing your next workout or even two. Because remember, we want to keep this as easy as possible. Then when it comes to the actual workouts, we're going to do full body workouts at least twice a week, but ideally 3 times a week. And if you're not sure what that looks like, I have a beginner workout short that I'll leave linked in the description below. And there's a couple of reasons that we're going to do a full body workout instead of a body part split. One, it makes sure you're hitting all your muscle groups at least a couple times a week, which is better for muscle growth. And two, it gives us more freedom to move our workouts around when life inevitably lifes. Because some days things are just gonna come up. Like maybe you have to pick your kid up from school early because they're sick or something like that. So in that case, you can just do your workout the next day. Whereas if you were doing a 6-day-a-week workout split, you would just miss your workout entirely. But the other important thing is you need to take at least 24 hours off in between your workouts to give your muscles a chance to recover, because muscle growth actually happens in the recovery, not from the workout itself. So let's say you're building a house and you just finished building the frame to that house, but then a big bad wolf comes and blows that frame over. You start to rebuild it, right? But then as you're rebuilding it, before you get that frame done, that big bad wolf comes and blows it over again. And this cycle just keeps repeating itself. Then you're never going to be able to actually get your framing done to build that house. That's what happens when you lift weights and don't give your body time to recover. Lifting weights breaks down the muscle tissue and it needs time to recover and grow. But if you don't give it time to recover, it's never going to grow. Think of it this way. Training is planting the seed, but recovery is constantly watering that seed so that it can have time to grow. Now, when you first start out, it's going to be relatively easy to keep progressing weekly, but don't panic if it starts to take you weeks or even months to make some progress as you've been doing it for longer. Because unfortunately, our progress does start to level off. Because if it didn't, you would see people lifting skyscrapers like the Hulk. But that just unfortunately isn't the case. Now that you have your training routine down, you're gonna focus on progressive overload. And this is just a fancy way of saying you're gonna increase the amount of weight or reps you're lifting over time. But probably the most important thing in this video is to stay consistent. Because if you're constantly missing workouts, you're never gonna see any progress, no matter how much you push yourself on the odd workout that you actually do. So a general rule I like to use when it comes to consistency is to be 80% consistent, meaning for every 10 workouts you have scheduled, you do at least 8 of them. But if you're able to do all 10, keep that going. Don't let this rule be an excuse to skip 2 of every 10 workouts. And when you're first starting out, consistency is definitely going to be a challenge. So with my clients, I like to use minimums. So here's what that looks like. If one day you don't feel like going to the gym, instead of giving yourself permission to just not go and miss it entirely, you're gonna tell yourself you're gonna go and do at least 2 sets of one exercise of your choice. It can be squats, bench press. The exercise itself doesn't really matter. The point is to just get you into the gym. Sometimes this is gonna lead to you doing your entire workout. And other times you're just going to do that one exercise and then you're going to leave. And that's okay. Sure, this might not be ideal for building muscle, but the goal here is to keep that habit going versus always giving yourself permission to skip your workouts and getting nowhere. Then on your off days, you're not going to do any traditional cardio. You're just going to focus on hitting a step count. And the specific step count is going to vary depending on where you're at. But ideally, we want to be hitting at least 7,500 steps. But if you're only at 2,000 steps a day right now, start by just getting to 3,000, then 4,000, and so on. And there isn't anything wrong with traditional cardio. In fact, it's fantastic for your heart health. And the evidence is mixed on whether or not it even impairs muscle growth. This would largely depend on your diet. But the reason I don't recommend it for starting out is because there's only so much you can focus on. And if you focus on trying to improve everything at once, then nothing gets improved. So if our main focus is building muscle, let's just focus on building muscle. And that's how building muscle can make losing weight so much easier in the long term, and how you can build your first 10 pounds of muscle. as promised, here's my video breaking down where you burn calories in a day. If you're still here, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate you. Until next time, peace.